What's up, the Generation? Welcome to the Big Bets on Campus podcast presented by Draftkings. This is the College Football Bowl season betting preview part two. I'm Stuckey, and joining me, as always, my fellow BBOC co-host, Collin Wilson, and as we will for each and every bowl preview, the group of five guys, Mike Calabrese, and the one and only Josh Nunn, aka Duck. If you missed part one, got good feedback on it. Bunch of winners on there so far. Hopefully, keep it rolling. But there are some games still to be played that we covered on there, including the first playoff game between Oklahoma and Alabama on Friday night. Looks like it's going to be windy in Norman, which I think does favor our Oklahoma. So we cover those. Today we will cover eight more games, starting with the three Saturday college football playoff games, and then we'll cover five other bowl games. Also, get Duck's thoughts on the FCS playoffs here shortly. Bowl betting preview part three, we will record on Sunday night. We'll have you covered throughout the college football playoff and bowl season. Before we get started, quick plug check out Playbook at Playbook on Twitter, the new bot from Action Network. Super convenient to get your bets automatically loaded, get your bet slips loaded, click it, bring you right to the book, especially if you want to follow anyone's like parlay or player props. Saves a lot of time. Make sure you check out Playbook and follow along on Twitter. And before we really get started, I'll throw to myself for a quick word from DraftKings. The Big Bets on Campus podcast has teamed up with DraftKings Sportsbook, where new customers can bet $5 and get $200 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. Love the thrill of live betting? DraftKings has got you covered there. Bet live on star player props and in-progress games right as they happen. To get started, use promo code BBOC when signing up with DraftKings. Again, that's code BBOC when signing up, and bet $5 to get 200 back in bonus bets if your bet wins. The crown is yours. And by the way, I should mention this podcast is now officially a four-father podcast. So congrats to all of us for having sex at least once. Uh, I will ask you, give one, if you had to give one piece of advice, I'll go around the horn. Calabrese.
Let's see. I would say in terms of like timing, the best once you get in that sweet spot of your kid, sleeping through the night or at least having a reliable sleep schedule, trying to pick the times to be on and give your significant other just like even just the headspace where no matter what happens, I'm on the kid, timing that up with maybe some West Coast basketball, college hoops, or, depending on the time of year, having it fit into your lifestyle. Because that's the biggest difference. Colin, Duck, and I have been saying it, as you've been expecting, your first along the way. You're going to continue to watch sports nonstop. We know you, Stucky. You're going to continue to grind, write the Mac Manifesto, all the things that we've come to expect and love from you. But it's really like, how do you fit that in while also holding a child, streaming on your phone, figuring out the screen situation, or, God forbid, down the line when you have to do play dates and things like that. But being able to link it up to the windows of when the games are played, and that way you get credit on both sides. You get credit from mom, and you get credit from everyone in Degenerate Nation for staying on your grind.
I will be opting out of play dates. But yeah, the baby did watch the bowl games last night with me on the couch while my wife napped. So um, I don't know if he's going to fall in love with college football after watching those two games, but hopefully he can appreciate bowl season. Duck, what do you got for me?
I would say just continue to date your spouse. Now that you have a child, you'll see that so much time and attention in your marriage and in your relationship gets devoted to your child. And so just continue to maintain that sort of real strong connection with your spouse and continue to date them. I don't know if you're going to have any more kids, but as you continue to have
One and done.
more, one and done. So, yeah, I'd say just continue to date your spouse and give each other time, one on one, protect that time with her.
Colin, how about you? I hope it's better than your Gaston Moore advice.
Yeah, gas some more was pretty bad. I guess a little bit of word advice for new dads out there, especially if it's your first child. Take it from me. My sons are 1 year and 3 days apart, Irish twins. The first time I played husband and wife after my first son, I got pregnant again. I
You
can't.
got pregnant again?
I did. I carried the baby. I came to full term. And I can't even tell you what it's like to have different sets of formula, different size diapers, two different sleeping schedules because when they're a baby, it's like two naps a day, then it turns into one. Like that was a mess. If you're one and done, that's great. The only other advice I can give you is financial. I took $100 a month and just shoved it away, pretend like I didn't even have it. Instead of making a bet, I just threw $100 away every month into a 529 account for my son. You do the math, it's over $21,000. You get a little growth on it over the span of those years. You basically have a great start at a college education. So pretend like you're just missing $100 every month and then pretend like that doesn't exist. And when someone says, "Do you have a college education for your kid?" Boom, you didn't even know that 100 was gone every month because it's a bet that you didn't make on South Florida or live over.
Well, imagine how much that college tuition fund could have been if you never bet Army Navy overs. Uh, so
17 years of
uh,
revenge.
podcast the agree. The first agree for these podcasts vote was Washington, easy winner. Colin took it on the chin in the head-to-heads. He had the Army Navy over. He had South Florida against us all. Um, and I mean, I don't know why you wanted to bet Gaston. You want to bet South Florida when Brian Brown's the quarterback, not the coach. And then Colin also had Troy against Jacksonville State. Almost got there in a Hail Mary. But
Who knows, Stuck? They never showed the replay. Maybe he did catch it. Like, what was up with that telecast?
unbelievable. How about Conference USA 2-0? What
That's
if
one thing I thought we were fading them the entire time, and look who showed up.
I've had both Conference USA teams so far, and I was like, I'm not going to bet them. So I have a head start. Maybe I should stop while I'm ahead. All right, but before we get to the college football playoff, Duck, we have FCS playoffs on Saturday, starting with the Brawl of the Wild. Great rivalry between Montana and Montana State. Montana State won on the road earlier this season, I believe 31-28. This game will be in Bozeman, right?
Yep.
If you ever go to Bozeman, one of my favorite breakfast places in the country, Jam. It's amazing. Go there. Um, a fun fact that you told me I read was an FCS team has not won on the road in the semis in 10 years. Is that true?
Yeah. Yeah, and a good majority of that is due to North Dakota State and their home dominance in the Fargo Dome and being in the FCS semis as routinely as they have been. But yeah, we just don't see a lot of these road teams show up and win on the road. This will be a really fun battle. I mean, you couldn't ask for anything more in an FCS semi with Brawl of the Wild 2.0. You look at Montana State last week, they had their way with Stephen F. Austin in the second half. They won the game 44-28. You could argue that SFA left three touchdowns out on the field. Something Montana is not likely to do here. This Grizz offense is incredible, scoring 50 points in back-to-back playoff games. Kiali'i Ayat, 700 passing yards in those two games, seven total passing touchdowns. Eli Gilman and the receiver group are playing really well, just really clicking on offense, and I'm not convinced that Montana State is going to be able to shut these guys down the way they're playing right now. You look at the first meeting, Montana threw a pick six and also missed a field goal, had a second one blocked. Really played well despite just one receiver having more than 31 total receiving yards. I think the Grizz offense is going to put up a big point total in this one. I don't know that Montana is going to be able to stop the Bob's rushing attack for a full 60 minutes. This could be one where Montana's defense wears down in the second half. Montana State does that to teams where they just lean on you, and then the dam breaks in the fourth quarter. So even with Montana getting their best corner back, their best player in the secondary, Keon Loud, that should help bolster the pass coverage unit, but I don't necessarily think that we're going to see the defense from Montana really show up here. It's hard to beat a team twice. Montana had chances in the first meeting, but now you're on the road. Again, a road team hasn't won in the semis in 10 years. Should be back and forth. Are we going to see a seven? I mean, we see 6.5 now flashing on the board, so could lean Montana's way at seven, but I think this is an over game. I think we'll see both these teams in the 30s.
I might have to look at Montana at 7. Um, this coming from someone who knows nothing on bad FCS. So don't take my advice. Take Ducks. The other game, Villanova with, I mean, their defense has been incredible in the college football. I thought they were about to get blown out at Tarleton. They went down 14-0. Place was jumping. The Cowboys were dancing, and then Nova just slowly grinded their way back and dominated most the rest of the game. Then Illinois State, you have to be impressed with them because they pull off one of the biggest upsets in FCS history. And a lot of times you might see a team, kind of be satisfied with that. And then they go on the road and you'll see them be flat but they weren't. And they dominated UC Davis. And now we have Villanova, Illinois State. Is this at Nova?
Yeah.
At Nova, Nova hosting. Wow. Um, who do you like here on the main line?
Yeah, and we've seen this line move pretty significantly. I do think that Illinois State has a really good chance to go on the road and win this game. You look at the way that Illinois State's game against UC Davis played out. It was back and forth the entire first quarter, but after going down 10-7, Illinois State really dominated from that 3-4 minute mark in the first quarter all the way through the second half, built a 42-17 lead. And then UC Davis did get a couple garbage touchdowns at the end. Rittenhouse back to playing really good football at quarterback for Illinois State. Nice bounce back after he threw 5 interceptions against North Dakota State the week before. I expect run heavy action here from Illinois State. They ran the ball 70% of their plays against UC Davis. They have several capable backs, but Victor Dawson is going to get the large majority of the carries here. Nova, I mean, they just keep winning games that you would think they have no business winning. They were dominated by Lehigh for 3 quarters, still found a way there. And then the way they went down 14-0 against Tarleton State, you could have made a case that the route was on. They were plus 27.5 live at one point in that game. But you know what? They battled back. The defense stuck in there, and they completely shut down Tarleton State's passing attack. 60% of the passing yards for Tarleton State happened on 2 plays. And Victor Gabalis was out of rhythm. They had 4 sacks. It was just a real impressive performance from Villanova in the trenches to completely get Tarleton out of rhythm. They had a little luck at the end there where the receiver caught the pass and couldn't get his foot down. Just a wild ending to that one. I think both these run defenses are going to show up here and limit explosives. They'll be forgiving enough in the run defense department to where these teams are going to continue to want to run the ball, but I would not envision that either offense has a ton of explosive rushing, and I don't think that either one of these quarterbacks is going to wow through the air here. McQuaid's decent quarterback for Villanova, and they hit some pass plays against Tarleton State, but I think Illinois State's coverage unit will play a little better than what Tarleton State did. I think it's an under game here. I think we'll find that Illinois State will really struggle throwing the ball here. They've got a couple good explosive receivers, but I don't imagine a lot of explosive plays here. It'll be methodical defensive battle. I think the two buttoned up defensive units will control the terms here in a run heavy game. I like under 52.5.
But I mean, McQuaid played well, the quarterback for Nova. Um,
Probably
I
best
mean,
game of the season for him.
is that, well, it was okay. That was the first time I ever watched him play. Um, so yeah, I can see an under there. More on that later. But let's move on to the official college football playoff. Let's start with Miami and Texas A&M. Texas A&M, 3.5 point favorite at DraftKings, total down to 48 and a half, 48 at some places. This game will kick off at noon Eastern on ABC in College Station, Texas. Talked about this before. Home field in these first round games. Jacked up. Saw that last year with all 4 teams winning and covering. Texas A&M is one of the best home field advantages in all of college football. I when I first look at this game, I guess I'll go through the notes for everything. Keontae Scott, Miami's best corner, looks like he'll be back. Last played in week 11. He'll be important because he'll play in the slot a bunch, very versatile. Damari Brown, probably their second best corner. He's questionable. I think he'll play. David Blay, their nose tackle, should be good to go. OJ Frederic, who was very good as a freshman, not as good this year, but he'll be back at corner. So Miami looks like they'll have their full complement of defenders. Scott is the big name there. Texas A&M, meanwhile, they could get Bryce Anderson. They should get Bryce Anderson back at safety. He last played in week 7. Scooby Williams should be back. He last played in week 9. They might help a run defense that has been a bit leaky at times. And then we'll see if Le'Veon Moss can go. The star back for A&M, who hasn't played since week 7. He's officially listed as questionable. So one of the reasons this game has taken some under money is because of the wind, which might be impactful on Saturday. Let's see the updated forecast. I mean, you're looking at sustained as of right now, could change 15 to 20 miles per hour. That will definitely have a bit of an impact on each passing attack. Miami does a good job generally of preventing explosives, play a lot of too high. They'll have Scott back in the slot. This is a great trenches battle, by the way. Elite offensive line versus elite defensive line on both sides of the ball. Which one of those which one of those elite defensive ends can win their one-on-ones and make a splash play? I think might end up deciding this. A&M, on the other hand, their defense, great defensive line. They've done a good job of preventing explosives in the passing game. It's the running game where they do give up too many explosives, but don't have to worry about Carson Beck's legs here. And Texas A&M does like to play a bit of man coverage. And Miami is not an explosive rushing offense. One of the key one of the keys to this game, which could be a differentiator, is the emergence of Pringle at running back. Gerard Pringle, he's the freshman has gotten more carries over the past few games and provided more of an explosive element. Can he hit some explosives here against an A&M defense that has been vulnerable in that department? I mean, this is a guy he had 17 carries up until November 15th, and then he had 17 carries against NC State for 116, 14 against Va Tech, 10 against Pitt. So he's really coming on, averaging over 6 yards per carry. Can he hit some explosives? Might be worth a look in the prop market, maybe longest rush over or something. At a flat three, I'm in on A&M at home. I think they find a way. I also like the first half under. I know Colin's going to tout that. I think both teams come out. I think there's good matchups for both defenses. I think they're going to come out slow, run the ball, feel each other out. Miami's generally conservative early on, and I just don't trust them to fully exploit the Texas A&M run defense issues. And the Texas A&M run defense might be better with both Anderson and Williams back. If I don't get to the window on and the wind, which I already mentioned, if I don't get to the window on A&M pregame, I will be looking for them live. If they go down in this game or they're down at the half, A&M's been a great second half team all year. And who do you trust more to make adjustments? Elko or Mario, or I should say Mario. And it's Elko all day. And we've seen Mario below leads with bad time management, bad game management, get way too conservative so many times. So it would not shock me in the least if A&M's down 10 going into the fourth and comes back to win this game. So I will be looking at A&M live, but did play the first half under. I think anything better than 24. 24 or above is fine. Colin, you agree on the first half under?
Yeah, absolutely. First half under. I think there's a lot of things that go into this. First off, almost a Jefferson Pilot kickoff here in the SEC territory at 11 a.m. If it was 11:45, it truly would be Jefferson Pilot. I think the question is, does Colin Klein try and get the run game going because Le'Veon Moss is back? Do we defer and not say, I'm just going to start throwing the ball, maybe try to get a little ground game going in the scripted portion, which could lead to it being a lot slower. But the Miami defense is elite in the first half. They are third in FBS defensive scoring. They have allowed 4.8 points in the first half this season. That is insane. So I agree with you that I think Texas A&M wins this game. I would only buy it at 3. I don't expect them to have, they didn't have any points in the first quarter against Texas. They only had a field goal in the first half against South Carolina. They've been starting off slow. The Miami defense has been crazy good in the first half. So I think Texas A&M is going to have to come back in the second half. I think that they can, because if you look at the slot position, that is the biggest area where Miami is going to struggle. So let me say this. I already have a 50 to 1 on Texas A&M to win the national title. First bet I made after the national title last year. I am probably going to get a little unit down on Miami, but I think Texas A&M wins this game for this very reason. Keontae Scott is one of the names listed on Stuckey's opt-out, injury, all that. That is a huge loss here because Mario Craver lines up
He's
in the
he's
slot.
back, by the way, Colin.
Keontae Scott is back
He's good to
after
go,
getting hurt against Syracuσε. Okay, well, we'll see
which
how
is
good he
huge
is.
in the slot. That's one of the reasons I like
Yeah,
the under as well.
because yeah, Bryce Fitzgerald was not getting it done there at
No, the
all.
freshman, he's been bad.
Right. So domination in the slot is really what's going to get it done here. But again, I think it's slow going. First half under. I think Texas A&M roars back at the end.
No, I think getting Scott back in the slot, particularly for this matchup, is enormous. Because the freshman was going to get torched. It was one of the things that I was watching before I placed that first half under bet. Um,
Like Pitts
Calabrese, you
Raphael
like
Williams. I was gonna say it's Pitts Raphael Williams. He's their slot. He went crazy. Like all 5 targets, caught all 5, had explosives mixed in. Like Keontae Scott. That's the player to watch on the Miami defense.
Yep. Uh, yeah, he's their best corner by far. Calabrese, you like Tony to get in the end zone?
I do. It's, minus 110, minus 120 out in the market. The kid is the whole Canes offense, really, the last few games. In the last three in particular, he scored in each of them. He had four total touchdowns, 31 total targets. Plus, they also got him involved in the run game, which, when you talk about this wind, it's important. He had eight additional carries in those two games. Because when you look at it, they're going to
He
get
could have a
him
return too.
returns, and the quick game is so critical. The bubble, the tunnel screens, they're going to put him at wildcat quarterback, lots of different touches. So I just see this as an opportunity for him to get in, even if the wind is problematic for any throws 15 yards down the field or more. A lot of his big throws, you look back at that game against Florida State earlier in the season, hit him on a quick slant, and then all of a sudden he breaks one tackle and he's to the house. So if Miami has any chance to win this game, I think he's got to cross the end zone. And essentially, they've just been feeding him nonstop against ranked teams this year. When you look at their opportunities to impress the committee, he's been the focal point. So I think this is going to be another showcase game for him. And if they get shut down, then, the Canes just aren't competitive. But I think they'll go down swinging with their best player.
Colin, I'm putting Miami first half under on our agree board.
Yeah, absolutely.
I already have OU on there.
Down to 24 too. I don't know what number we're at, but I mean, I got it at like
24 or
25.
better is fine.
Yeah, 24 better.
Doc, nothing here for you.
Yeah, I mean, just real quick, I do like the way that Miami has played the last month of the season, and now they get a new lease on life getting into the playoff, and so could start strong here for Miami with that. That defense is nasty and showing up, I would expect here. 2.9 yards per carry on the ground, eighth nationally in defensive success rate, 20th in preventing explosives, eighth in red zone efficiency. I do think that Miami defense will show up here ready to go. And you hashed out some of the A&M run defense numbers. I do think that Miami does line up and try and run the ball here. So first half under position, I would definitely support. It's kind of one of those old 2007 style handicaps where you get that 24 and a half, you go first half under. So I do like that.
Yeah, I imagine this probably closes 23 and a half. All right, let's move on to Tulane Ole Miss.
Yeah.
That's in the afternoon. Tulane, this is a rematch from a game earlier this year. Ole Miss was, I think, was closed a 13 and a half point favorite and dominated. They won 45-10 at home. Now they are a 17 and a half point favorite, total 56 and a half. Bryce Bohannon, Tulane receivers, doubtfully at 31 catches for 417 yards. Cornerback for Ole Miss, Antonio Kite. We'll see if he can go. He's questionable. A lot of coaching news in this. John Summerall took the Florida job, but he'll stay with the team. But how distracted has he been? Hard to say. I think he tweeted out that he has two jobs. And then Lane Kiffin took the LSU job. He will not be with the team. Defensive coordinator Pete Golding has taken over as the new head coach. Offense coordinator Charlie Weiss Jr. will stay with the team. So I played Ole Miss. I need a 17 or better, but I made it 18 and a half. I played some 17. The strongest, if you look at Tulane, the first meeting, I mean, Retzlaff got benched. I mean, what did he start off? 0 of 10? And he was just dreadful. Tulane's defense is not good. The strongest part of their defense is their pass rush and their defensive line. They can get after the quarterback. But Chambliss never takes sacks, and he's unpressurable. So I just don't know how the Tulane back end is going to hold up. I also imagine this is just number one, it's a home playoff game. The crowd's going to be jack up the home field advantage. And this is a prove it. Lane Kiffin left, hold up a middle finger to Lane. You're going to get some new wrinkles here from the offense. And I think Tulane's in a world of hurt. I mean, I really wish that it was USF or North Texas, which I think were better overall teams from the American. But here we are with Tulane. You got to give credit to Summerall and company. But, I mean, Tulane, you want to run the ball on Ole Miss. Their run defense is worse than their pass D. They don't get elite pressure, but I just don't think that Retzlaff is going to pick them apart. And Tulane's running game, unless Retzlaff just goes wild here, I don't see them being anything special. I mean, I will say that what's his name has come on a bit. McClure, the running back for Tulane, he's given them some juice. I mean, he only got 3 carries in the first meeting. He, like Pringle, has really come on of late. I mean, he only had, 8 carries prior to November 15th, and he had 10 for 94 against FAU, 7 for 122 against Temple, 11 for 69 against Charlotte. Now, again, these are poverty teams, but then he had 22 for 121 against North Texas. So maybe he gives them a little bit more juice in the run game. But Yeah, I like a little worried about like all this G5 narrative talk but I think this is a good spot for Ole Miss here. Um, so I laid it. I took 17. Need 17 or better. Make it 18 and a half. Nothing, not a huge bet, but I like Ole Miss. Colin, you agree?
Yeah, this isn't the G5 team you want to back. It wasn't close the first time. It's not going to be close this time. There's no shortage of motivation on the Ole Miss side. I know it's like impossible to handicap motivation for bowl games, but if you go on history of home games, you would think that the home team would have more of an advantage. Maybe that we know we'll get more samples to what we had last year. But these players calling out Lane Kiffin on Twitter, on social media, like Lane Kiffin putting out a statement that he was wanting to stick around and coach the team through the playoff, and the players wanted me there. And then the starting center's like, no, you better check that. Sunshine Perkins, like, no, we didn't. That's not really what happened in the room. These players are pissed, and I think they got something to say. And I feel as if they get this one game burst of emotions at home from the greatest season in Mississippi college football history, and they're going to move on to the quarterfinals and lay a dud. But right here, they're absolutely going to nail Tulane to the wall again. And Trinidad Chambliss is one of the most mistake-free quarterbacks in college football. It's insane what this Ferris State kid has been able to do. Turnover-worthy play rate of 1.8% this season and 365 dropbacks. You can't rattle the kid. It's quite amazing. Kawan Lacey, like, is Tulane going to be able to tackle this guy? They're 130th, I think, in broken tackles allowed. He's forced 89 missed tackles. That's like second behind Cam Cook of anybody in FBS football. He averages 3.3 yards after first contact. At least 33 of his runs have gone for double digits. I don't see Tulane stopping that. I don't see anything different than what happened in this first game than what's going to happen now. And in that first game, Ole Miss had at least 2 first downs on 8 of 11 drives. Same thing's happening here. This is not the G5 team you want to back.
Duck, you're on board?
Yeah, I am on board. I mean, I think you look at the path to Tulane and having success moving the ball and scoring touchdowns here. I just don't see it. 282 yards in the first meeting, 4.1 yards per play. Retzlaff in that first meeting, 5 out of 17, 56 passing yards. The lone touchdown for Tulane came in complete garbage time. The score was 45-3. They were playing out the last 4 minutes, and Tulane punched one in at the end. I think for Ole Miss, having some continuity with the DC sticking around and coaching that unit will really pay off with them being able to just step up and limit what Tulane wants to do here. I also think that we could see Tulane in situations where they have to be aggressive on fourth down. They can't settle for field goals. They know they're going to have to score points to stay in this one. And man, I don't think it's going to go very well. I look at the first meeting in that September game, which was a kind of a bad spot for Ole Miss. They were in an SEC schedule sandwich spot, and Tulane really got up for that game. And Tulane was outgained by 300 yards. They have routinely this season benefited from turnover voodoo, 5-0 against North Texas. There
They're
was
10,
crazy
since they
fluke.
got waxed by UTSA over the final 5 games of the year, they're plus 10 of a plus 10 turnover margin.
Yeah, unsustainable, unable to be predicted, but likely not to happen here. I mean, you could make an argument that there was performances all season they should have lost. East
South
Carolina,
Alabama, they should have
Army,
lost.
South Alabama. Just not a team that I think is going to be able to have it in the trenches to be able to stay within shouting distance here. I really don't want to overthink this one. This is a really good spot for Ole Miss to kind of put it on this team. Lay it even 17 and a half, I'm fine. And I do also like Tulane's team total under 20 and a half.
And Calabrese, you're gonna make this, and I fully agree, and you're going with an alt.
Yeah, I'm going with an alt. I agree with everything that you guys are saying. I think this is a statement game for them. If there ever was one, the place is going to be an absolute zoo in Oxford. Lay 27 and a half on the alt line, plus 260 on return. And just to reiterate a few things real quick, Tulane got smashed in the first meeting because they couldn't throw it and they couldn't get a stop to save their life. Well, where all of a sudden, or either of those things going to be fixed in this game? I think that Retzlaff, when you look at it, the best defense that he really faced down the stretch was East Carolina. They were, what, 54th in SP plus defense, and they barely pulled that one out of the fire, 26-19. They had to settle for 4 field goals in that game, 3 in the red zone, and that's been a bugaboo for Tulane the entire season. They finished 99th in red zone touchdown percentage. If you want to pull an upset, you can't settle for field goals just to kind of hang around. You got to score and score a lot because Chambliss, I don't understand really how he's flown this far under the radar nationally in terms of the respect. I know that award season he wasn't going to be a Heisman finalist, but if you look at his 10 games that he started and then extrapolate it out to if he had started all 12, he would have had just about 30 total touchdowns, over 4,200 total yards of offense. This kid is an absolute monster. I'm not sure if it was Stuck or Colin who said it. You can't pressure him. You can't get to him because not only is he mobile, but also they have so much in the quick game that is able to get him out of trouble. You look at his A dot, it's about 8.5, not top 60 in the entire country, which sometimes you call upon that as a bit of a downgrade. I look at it as a way of saying that it's highly unlikely they're going to rattle him into a turnover worthy play. And once Tulane is down 2 scores and it's just on Retzlaff's shoulders, I see a disaster breaking out for them. I think this is going to be a repeat of the first game where Ole Miss won by 35, but they could have won by as many points as they wanted. I think this is a case where they want to show middle finger to Lane Kiffin out there, in Baton Rouge. We're going to win this one by 50. We didn't need you in the first place.
By the
Interesting
way, let
story.
me
Yeah,
say this. If you think that they smoke in this game, like just smoke Tulane, and then you think Ole Miss lays a dud a day before the portal opens, like that's even more like Stuckey and I on that recap show wanted Georgia futures. This lines up in the Georgia playoff bracket. I'm telling you, if you haven't got a Georgia future in your back pocket, it looks like a clear semifinal path. If you guys agree that you think they play a dud the day before the portal opens up.
I will say the one thing that I'm really interested in seeing is Kiffin was known as being like super aggressive on fourth downs and just like,
Mhm.
F it, go for it a lot. I'm curious to see what Golding does on fourth downs and what the fourth down aggressiveness is. All right, let's move on to the third and final college football playoff game on Saturday between James Madison and Oregon. Oregon is a 21-point favorite, total down to 47.5, which makes me sad because I didn't get the bet all of the unders that I wanted to. I I I kind of still like this under. No, it's gone past 50 and 48. But the way that so when I look at this game, I do think that JMU's defense is legit. I mean, you can adjust for opponent. I think this is like a top 20, top 15 type of defense. They'll get Emmanuel Bush back. It does remain, we don't know yet on Oregon's receivers. Stewart has been out all year, but he was practicing. DeCorian Moore, he's been out. He was practicing. Yeah, Gary Bryant, he's been out. He's practicing. I don't know. Oregon has a big game next week, assuming they win, so maybe they hold them back. I don't know, but if their receivers aren't back, they probably still lean into like their tight ends and their run game. I think the JMU defense can have a respectable enough effort here. What will probably happen is Oregon will hit a couple explosives, and that'll be the difference. I mean, you go back to that Louisville game, because JMU played a really easy schedule, but against at Louisville, they were up 14-6 the end of the third quarter. Chris Bell was going to be a first round draft pick. He hit a long Moss hit him for a long touchdown. Then Louisville scored a defensive touchdown, and then I think Isaac Brown
Isaac Brown took one to the house, yeah.
took one of the house. Who's also going to play in the NFL. So that's probably what will happen. Like Oregon will score like a couple touchdowns on long explosives at some point. But I think the James Madison defense can battle enough. And then on offense, they're going to go. They're already super slow. I imagine they're going to go super slow and try to condense this game down. I don't think Oregon's going to go super fast. So uh, even at 47 and a half, I think under is the look. Uh, Mike, you are wearing James Madison sweater, Christmas sweater, or is it a sweatshirt or a sweater?
Yeah, it was a Christmas sweater. Yeah.
Christmas sweater. Um, JMU, do they stay within the number?
I think they do. I'm taking the 21 and a half. I think it's pretty simple when you look at Oregon's postmortem, at least against the spread. They were 8-4 against the closing number. In their 8 covers, 237 and a half yards per game on the ground, 6.1 yards per clip. In their 4 losses, that dropped down to 180 yards per game and a full yard lower in terms of the yards per carry average. And James Madison probably is the best run defense that's ever come from the G5 level. The Dukes allow less than 8 feet per carry and just 76.2 yards per game on the ground. So if they're going to force Oregon, off of their absolute strength, I understand that they have monsters in the trench. They have blue chip kids all over the place. But Louisville was top 15 in rushing success rate over the course of the season. And in that particular game, Isaac Brown was healthy and he was playing. They were a different team when he was banged up at separate parts of the season. They held them below 4 yards per carry in that game. I also look at it in terms of, Chesney and his success punching up. I was talking to Duck before the recording. If you go back to his Holy Cross days and you also look at the Power Four teams that he's coached against at James Madison, there's 6 games across the last 4 years. 5-1 against the spread. His only time he didn't cover was against South Dakota State, who won the national championship at the FCS level. They were catching 16 or 17 in that game. They lost by 21. A game that Duck pointed out they were really in it. The box score didn't, and the final score didn't indicate how close that game was. In terms of punching up, the guy always has his people prepared. And I agree in terms of the pace and the brand of football they want to play. They finished 122nd in seconds per between plays this season, and they finished third in time of possession percentage. So if they want to shrink this game down and their run defense comes to play and they get a couple opportunities to get off the field and get some punts, I think 21.5 is too rich. I mean, there's other things to consider, but really it comes down to me. The run defense, Chesney's, history, he's 47-11 straight up in his last 58 games. And those 11 losses, he lost by an average of 8.3 points per game. The guy just doesn't get blown out very often. I understand everyone's trying to make this narrative, including Nick Saban about an hour ago. It's AAA baseball trying to play for the World Series. Somehow Utah beat you, Nick, in the 2008 Sugar Bowl. I know that every single loss for a Power Four team is, oh, we didn't care, we didn't play hard enough. This is James Madison's Super Bowl. You're clearly going to get maximum effort. Their fans are traveling out to the Pacific Northwest. I think there's a lot to like in terms of a dog that plays defense and can run. I need Wayne Knight to do something special in this game. I agree. I think the game flow and the narrative, Oregon's going to land some haymakers. They're going to have a couple plays of 40 plus and maybe take it to the house. But Wayne Knight's a pretty good running back. So I think if they can do something schematically, a lot of Sun Belt play, Duck can attest to this. Down the stretch, they were not in their bag. They were playing a lot of vanilla football. They weren't putting a ton on
And
tape
taking knees.
and taking knees. I mean, to your chagrin, this is a team that I think potentially, and you saw it in the Louisville game, they had what was a double reverse pass on the first drive that got dropped. I think they're going to pull out the stops a little bit, a la the Boise States of the world when they're punching up against Oklahoma in the Fiesta Bowl. Like this is their opportunity. I think Chesney's the right coach. I think he's going to go for it here. So 21.5 is over that key number. I'll take the points with the Dukes.
Yeah, one of the other reasons I like the under that I failed to mention, because I do think they're going to have to try to get tricky, is my biggest concern for JMU, because I think the defense can hang around on a down-to-down basis. Is the offensive line might just get destroyed. Like that's my biggest worry against the Oregon front. Like that's where I think you're going to see like the biggest difference from when you're just watching it like visually if you know nothing about these teams. I think that they're not going to get any push. Like Louisville also has an elite defensive line, and JMU couldn't run the ball. I mean, it was just Sluka like QB power for like 3 yards at a time, but their running backs had no room, and they couldn't block Louisville. That's my biggest concern with the JMU offense. But I do think this will be lower scoring, which does lend itself to a dog catching 3 touchdowns plus. And I don't think Oregon has the incentive to run this up, right? Like if they win, then you have a big game next week, and if there's also like their coordinators have taken other jobs, Oregon's. They're staying with the team, but they're definitely doing other work. So if you're thinking about this, if you're like balancing, all right, my other jobs, JMU, but next week, Texas Tech, like you got to allocate all those resources. You're probably not going to have the most ideal creative game plan here from both coordinators. A little narrative street, but Duck, what are you saying?
Yeah, I mean, there's no doubt those coordinators are exerting some amount of bandwidth to their new gigs, so there is something there.
And maybe next
Uh,
week too,
and maybe
right?
next week too. Yeah, I mean, it's just deeper and deeper as they get into this, it could be more and more tricky for those two to try to have to be fully locked in here on this playoff run. I took James Madison plus 21.5. I think if these guys score at least 2 touchdowns, they cover this number. In no way whatsoever is this going to be easy. Oregon, I went back and watched the Louisville tape and I looked at it from the all 22 angle so you could really look at the trench play. And Oregon is going to get pressure with four down alignment. Barnett is going to have to get rid of the ball quickly in standard passing down situations. They didn't really call the game that way against Louisville, but I think maybe we'll see the pass play selection from the call sheet be such to where James Madison can get the ball out of his hands quickly, knowing they're not going to have a lot of time. They've got to run some counter, they got to go QB power, a little zone read, and they're going to have to win the war in the trenches on some of those plays and just achieve 3 yards on first down because if you're in second and long, third and long, you're playing right into Oregon's hands and it could really get jerky for JMU. I think we're going to have to see the Dukes pull plays out of the back of the playbook and run
Sluka, is Sluka coming back for
some
this one?
well, I mean, I made mention of that too. I think he's only played 55 snaps the last 9 weeks, but I think we have to see some 31 personnel out of the pistol. Maybe we see some Barnett and Sluka on the field at the same time. They ran their very first offensive play against Louisville. They ran a double pass where they threw a screen out to the far side to the receiver, and all he had to do was put it on the guy across the middle, and he was wide open for a walk-in touchdown. They couldn't make the play. They're gonna have to do something like that to get one past the goalie, maybe take the crowd out of it a bit. Maybe they go ahead early and they can kind of just try to hang in there. But it's clearly going to be truncate the possession count, play very, very slow. I do think that the defense is talented enough um, to at least provide some resistance to Oregon. This is not going to be Oregon just lining up and rolling through these guys and scoring 52 halfway through the third quarter, and everyone's laughing like they were when they played Liberty in the bowl game a couple years back. I do not think that'll be this, but you've got to win the war in the trenches a little bit, even though you are inferiorly talented. And then you know what? If they can just limit Oregon's explosivity in the pass game and on the outside with their weapons, if they can limit some of that, I'd say 3 or 4 explosive plays or less. Yeah, or JMU is going to show up defensively in the trenches, and I think they can compete here with what Oregon wants to do offensively. So you add all that up, there's no style points here. You don't need to blow this team out if you're Oregon. You just need to get the clock to zeros in the fourth quarter and get the hell out of there. I think James Madison can keep this one with it. It's an important hook, but 21 and a half, I like JMU.
A lot of the G5 haters, they don't want to hear it, but how much better is Iowa than James Madison? Now they would say like, oh, it's apples and oranges. They're not even on the same playing field. It's like Oregon needed what a field goal in the last minute to beat Iowa. They went to OT with Penn State. Wisconsin, they played with their food. I know it was raining, and there's lots of excuses. There's lots of ways to kind of like tilt the conversation any way that you want. I just think it comes down to, do you believe that this James Madison team with a historically good run defense, and they generate so many negative plays, they live in your backfield, they put you behind the sticks in the run game. So looking at that, I guess it's just a question of, do you think because they don't have the blue chips, so they have what, 3, 4 stars on the entire roster, if that's only how you handicap or that's only how you preview football, then yeah, this will be a 60 to 3 game, and that's what some people are going with. I think I just get a little prickly about it because I think the reality is if you watch James Madison play, they're kind of an ideal team to muck this game up and turn it into a rock fight. They just need to get lucky a few times in the pass game and extend some drives instead of them being 3 and outs. They're 7 or 8 play drives that eat up the clock.
Sneaky key for JMU. These big dogs that are overmatched from a talent perspective on the road in high leverage games, in like a game where they would just want to ugly it up and limit possessions. Patrick Rea, their Aussie punter. I'm telling you, I've seen so many dogs just die because in these spots, like the punter will just shank one. They get one blocked if they're getting dominated up front. Like he's got to be good. He's very inconsistent. He's got to have a good day because they gotta field position is going to be important. He can't get one block. He can't get nervous and shank one when they're punting from the 15 and only goes 21 yards. Um, so watch the JMU punter. Going to need a big day from him. Colin, you got an anytime touchdown bet here?
Yeah, but I mean, I do like James Madison. So I echo everything everybody's saying, but I kind of see this game a little bit differently. Yesterday, the availability report came out, and DeCorian Moore, Gary Bryant, Evan Stewart are listed as questionable. Two of those names, I'm not surprised they were listed as questionable, but DeCorian Moore being listed as questionable. How long is this guy going to be listed that way and not play in these games? And so I start going through my brain, and I already kind of like James Madison because I make this game like 15. And I think if you can get 21 and a half, then the game's probably going to be at 35-7, and you're going to need that hook. This feels backdoor all the way. Um, but in the back of my mind, when I saw that availability report, I thought to myself, Isn't this the same Oregon team that showed up in the Rose Bowl and got their ass kicked by an offensive attack that they weren't expecting whatsoever? Did Dan Lanning take a page from that? And is he going to sit all of his wide receivers? It doesn't even matter if they've only got three healthy ones on the entire roster. Are they going to go straight Jordan Davison and Noah Whittington in this game and say, I can build a two possession lead with my running backs? I won't expose one single thing with DeCorian Moore, Gary Bryant, and Evan Stewart. Two of those names on there. Like DeCorian Moore hasn't played like what in a month? And Evan Stewart, like the full boat of playbook, you're not going to put out against the James Madison defense. So, in my opinion, I feel like Dan Lanning's going to make this game as vanilla as possible. And James Madison's absolutely going to cover once they get a two possession lead. I think they're just going to sit on the ball. Now, as far as the Dukes go with the prop, listen, they run the ball 63% of the time, and you're going to hear a lot about Wayne Knight, and he deserves to be talked about a lot. 3.8 yards after first contact. He forced 43 missed tackles this season. But this isn't the top scoring option on the team. The quarterback, Alonzo Barnett, the third, he is the top scoring option. Knight has nine rushing TDs. Barnett has 14, next to his 21 passing TDs. The Oregon defense produces a negative play against inside zone on one of 20 attempts. They are never behind the line of scrimmage against teams that run inside zone. Ask Iowa, right? So Oregon is 77th in defensive finishing drives. Can you believe they're 126th and opponent red zone scoring? If James Madison can simply get to the 40, they're probably in line for a touchdown. Barnett is the name who's going to get called on the ground. I like Alonzo Barnett, the third. Anytime touchdown is plus 210. They're going to get one, maybe two TDs, and it should be Barnett.
To tag on to that, Colin, you saw because he came off of an injury where really back in August we were like, it's going to be Sluka's job in all likelihood.
Mhm.
He ends up starting. He didn't really have the full confidence to cut and to move the way that makes him a special quarterback until the second half of the season, and then the rushing touchdowns started to pile up. So I like that look a lot.
Did Sluka
Uh,
get paid for the playoff, though? Did we check to see if his agent got involved?
all
His
right,
they zelled it to his Wells Fargo account.
putting JMU on the uh, agree for the podcast preview for our group. What else was I going to add? Anything else? No, that's it. I make this 19.7 for what it's worth. All right. Those are the three college football first round matchups on Saturday. And if you need a way to watch them, let me tell you about Sling TV. With Sling TV, you can take control with flexible package options of 1, 3, and 7 day passes for access to 30 plus live channels, which include ESPN and TNT. So that covers you for all 11 of the college football playoff games. Sling TV will also be a great option for some huge upcoming NFL games as well. So with that, let's put together a Saturday all day parlay. You can hang out on the couch all day Saturday, watch the games, and sweat this one out with us. Let's go with Miami A&M first half under, JMU plus the points, and lay it with Ole Miss. So first half under to start, Ole Miss in the afternoon, JMU in prime time, pays around plus 650 on DraftKings. And by the way, if my baby was being born this weekend instead, I would have been using Sling TV in the hospital. Great way to be the popular guy in the hospital. All the doctors and nurses coming to get updates on the game. So that is why Sling TV is your solution to instant access to live TV, starting as low as $4.99. There isn't a better time to acquaint yourself with 1, 3, and 7 day passes from Sling TV. Offer applies to Orange 1 day pass. Restrictions apply. Check out Sling TV. Let's move on to the five other games we'll cover quickly. Starting on Monday, we have the famous Idaho Potato Bowl between Washington State and Utah State. News here, pretty critical. So, Utah State, I don't know if there's going to be more names, but their best receiver, first team All Mountain West, Pagan, he will not play. That's big. Washington State, they have a bunch of guys in the portal. Their cornerback, Kenny Worthy, he's not going to play. But all the other guys are, I think, are going to play. And this is like pretty nuanced, but this is one of the, if you follow my file, um, you would know this. And so Jimmy Rogers, originally for Washington State, and then the Washington State staff last year didn't didn't let players in the portal play. So I originally played Utah State knowing this, and I knew that there were opt-outs coming. So I played Utah State money line when this line first came out. Then Jimmy Rogers leaves, and he takes the head coaching job at Iowa State. And for this game, their DC, Jesse Bobbitt, is going to be the interim. He changes the team rule and is now allowing everyone in the portal, besides those guys who left before Rogers, which is just their backup quarterback Potter and their cornerback Worthy, to play in the bowl game. So I bought back, and I will be rooting for Utah State to win by one or two. Hopefully, going for too late and get it. I have no skin in the game. I don't know if there's more names coming for Utah State. I think that all these guys for Washington State are going to play. I don't know. The Washington State defense is probably the best unit in this game, but I think Utah State has the better head coach. They will be feisty playing in a stadium they are familiar with. Uh, I don't know. So I'll ask you guys. Duck, what do you got here?
I mean, I kind of like Utah State. Wazoo without their head coach, Bobbitt is going to Iowa State. His family's already left, so he's kind of in flux there with the bowl game preparation. The portal opt-outs have come in, and we saw some of this last year with Wazoo where they showed up against Syracuse with half a team. And I don't know how many of these guys are going to play, so if you want to wait until 15 minutes before kickoff, you could. Zevi is a dude, and he's going to ball out in the bowl game. But some of the receivers, they entered the portal. Yeah, they're allowed to play, but we don't know if these guys are going to play or not. I think the motivational factor will be on the side of Utah State. Bronco gets to a bowl game after he didn't get the bowl opportunity last year at New Mexico. Should have this group really locked in. I think about preseason expectations for Utah State. He showed up, the cupboard was fairly bare. The regular season win total was 4.5. Everyone thought this team was going to be a complete turd in the Mountain West, and they ended up being a real feisty group all season. And this is exactly where they want to be. They want to participate in this bowl game. We're not going to see a lot of guys, I wouldn't anticipate opting out for Utah State. I think the ground game is where Utah State is going to be able to work. They're going to be able to run the ball with Barnes. Miles Davis will have a big game. Jacobs will show up. You look at Wazoo defensively, 116th in rush play success rate given up on D, 93rd in explosive rushes given up, 99th in defensive havoc. I wonder if Utah State is able to just sustain possession of the ball by keeping it on the ground, and those drives should end up in the end zone. Wazoo offensively doesn't do really anything overly eye-popping. 119th in yards per play, 121st in yards per rush,
Purely
128th in.
defensive team.
Yeah, they really are. So you could look under if you like that sort of angle as well, but I still do wonder. I think that you'll see a situation similar to how the Cure Bowl played out, where you had a highly motivated Old Dominion group. I think this bowl game will really matter to Utah State and to their staff. And schematically, I think they'll be able to run the ball consistently for 60 minutes against Wazoo's defense. And just because these players are allowed to play for Wazoo, I still wonder how many are actually going to suit up. And we may not know that till half an hour before game time. So
I
I
do think
think
Freeman's going to play from what I've heard, but we'll see. The Utah State wide receiver loss is big. He was one of the best receivers in
Keegan,
his
yeah.
first team all conference. I will say Washington State, they traveled well. I mean, you have to give them credit for they gave JMU a game in a bad spot with travel. They
Ole
gave
Miss.
Virginia a game. They gave
Ole
Ole Miss
Miss.
a game. I mean, they were right there in all of them because of their defense. So you have to give them credit for that. Colin, we're back on the head-to-head train. You're going against Duck here. You like the Cougs.
I mean, I'm just flashing back to our podcast preseason about how we contemplated Oregon State starting off 0-6 and Washington State like being bowl eligible, and here we are. Look, I think for me, the fact that Jesse Bobbitt is still there and he's the defensive coordinator for Washington State, the fact that he is still there coaching, that is the best aspect of this team. I don't worry about the coaching staff getting up and taking off. Like Duck said, Zeviak House is a dude. He's going to play. He's going to ball out. Might be enough to beat Utah State's defense. But the 4.25 of Washington State is one of the best pass defenses out there. They're top 25 in quality and finishing drives. I mean, teams do not get methodicals against them, and they don't do very well when they get close to the end zone. Utah State is so reliant on explosive plays, especially on the ground from Pig Farmer quarterback Bryson Barnes. And we already mentioned Miles Davis here, but Washington State's going to give up the middle of the field. It's one of those bend don't breaks. Like we're going to get stiff around the 30-yard line, but we'll give you the middle of the field. They have horrible tackling numbers, but as long as they can stop these explosives from getting to the end zone, Washington State has the much better defense, the much better third downs, much better everything. I trust that side of the ball, and I trust their interim coach, who is their DC. So I'm taking Washington State.
Calabrese, you want to break the tie?
I'm gonna go Utah State. Wazoo is just one of the most confounding teams to cap throughout the entire season because they had. I'm sure the committee would somehow translate their three quality losses to Virginia, Ole Miss, and James Madison into what, a win and a half. I don't know how their formula works, but they were really impressive and traveling cross country for most of them. But then also they gave up 59 points on two separate occasions. They lay an absolute egg against Oregon State the first go around. They get to play them twice in the same season. And then if you want to look at quality losses, how different would we view Utah State if they had won that double overtime game against UNLV and the
But they
other
missed
team
like
that
five field goals.
exactly. So it's like, and then on top of it, they played the other team that was in the Mountain West Championship game, Boise, and they lost by 1 point. And
Yeah, they had
maybe
a
if they had
fourth and
another
one to end the game and didn't get it.
exactly another 15 seconds, maybe they get a field goal off, maybe they win that game. So I think they're a little bit closer to being a top four team in the Mountain West this year. I think we kind of all view them as middle class in a G5 league. The other part of it is in terms of the Wazoo defense, they did a really good job throughout the entire season containing running quarterbacks, and that concerns me a little bit because obviously we need the pig farmer to probably run for 75 yards and have a couple scores in this game. I'm banking on the coaching chaos a little bit and the personnel questions. If you mean Duck said 30 minutes before, kickoff, do we know who's suiting up? That's not even enough. You just saw it in some bowl games the last couple nights. Teams just like quit in the third quarter. All of a sudden you can see
Cam
it in
Cook warmed up and then didn't decided, hey, I'm getting in street clothes.
right.
That
So
was
it's like if Wazoo has a full deck and the coaching staff truly had their head in it the whole way, maybe I'm on the wrong side of this. I think there's a higher likelihood than not that one of those things, either the personnel or the coaching staff, has their mind in two places and Barnes gets just enough done. They're not snake bit in another close game. So I'm going to go with the Aggies here to win this thing.
Yeah, Washington State also benefited from a couple scheduling spots like Toledo and La Tech going there and
Mhm.
just nightmare spots, but they did travel really well. But if you are back in Utah State, good luck if they send out the field goal kicker. All right, moving on to Tuesday, the Boca Raton Bowl, Tuesday afternoon, 2 p.m. Eastern on ESPN between Toledo and Louisville. Louisville's a 6.5 point favorite, total sitting around 45 at DraftKings. Lots of news in this one. Toledo transfer portal will not play. Their starting DN Malachi Davis leads the team in sacks. Their starting safety Braden Alls and their starting linebacker Chris Dapolonia. From everyone else, sounds like they're locked in for Toledo. I mean, Emmanuel McNeil Warren talked about like wanting to finish. He's going to be a second round draft pick. He is dealing with a bit of a leg injury, so it wouldn't shock me if he didn't play, but he's talking like he's going to play. Their defense is really good, Toledo. I mean, what it's the star of the show for them. They have a really good secondary with Smith, Fuller, Bowers, McNeil, Warren. They obviously won't have alls here, but the secondary can ball. The offense, bit wonky at time. The running game is better than last year because Chip Trayanum was added to the mix, gives them a little more juice there. Junior Vandeross, he's one, if not the best receiver in the MAC. He's their big time playmaker. It is worth noting, though, that they will have a backup quarterback here. Their third string, Caleb Osborne, is expected to start because Tucker Gleason is doubtful. Their starting left guard is also questionable. But Gleason got hurt in the finale against Central Michigan. They didn't score in the first half. Osborne came in. He went, 5 of 7 for 108 yards, added 68 yards on the ground on 10 attempts, take away 2 sacks. He looked good, and they outscored Central Michigan 21-0 after halftime. Gleason is impossible to handicap. He is like 1 week he will look incredible. The next week he cannot hit the backside of the barn. It is incredible how inconsistent he is. Toledo also has a ton of coaching news. Candle to UConn. So their offensive line coach, Mike Howard, he'll call the offense. Their cornerback coach, Perry Eliano, will call the defense because they lost their defensive coordinator, who's a very good one, Vince Karras to Syracuse. They lost their co-defensive coordinator and safety coach to Iowa State, Ross Watson. They also lost their special teams coordinator, Stanton Weaver. So you're going to have some grad assistants having to step up as well. Louisville opt-outs. Strength of their defense is their defensive line, but they won't have two of their best in Conga and Bailey. Both of them are out. Miller Moss should play. Chris Bell, one of the best receivers in the country, he's out with an injury slash NFL. I think he actually tore his ACL. Hope he heals up well. I don't think he would have played anyway. The running backs for Louisville, we don't know. Brom came out and he said he doesn't know. He hopes one can play of Isaac Brown, Kewan Brown, and Duke Watson. Other potential opt-outs for Louisville, Cleve Lubin, I think he's going to play, but he's a stud defensive end. Their safety, Antonio Watts, linebacker Stanquan Clark, who's also been dealing with an injury for most of the season. Having said all that, I, I don't know. Colin, what do you got here?
I mean, I got Toledo. I think the numbers should have been lower in the first place, and I'm not really sure it's a bad thing that Jason Candles moved on, right? Did you want to put your money behind him in another bowl game? I certainly didn't. So I think the spread is a little bit inflated because of all of these aspects, but at the same time, with your interim defensive coordinator being the corners coach, I just don't expect a huge drop off from the Toledo defense, which is the best unit that they have right here. So, I mean, Toledo's top defense and FBS with respect to creating a contested catch. I mean, they're one of the best in so many different areas that's going to come into play here. I know Miller Moss is going to play, but what kind of weapons does he have in front of him? What kind of offensive line does he have in front of him? And Miller Moss is 97th in passing down success rate. Toledo is the best in the nation in shutting down passing downs. Like if Louisville gets behind schedule, they're in trouble here. So I think Toledo keeps it a lot closer than what the current market's at.
This does feel like an under to me
Mhm.
on the surface. Like this feels like I could see also one of these teams just like scoring only like 7 points and just looking really ugly. But I think both defenses now what complicates things for me is Louisville's defensive line, two of their better players being out, and that's like how they dominated opposing offenses up front. So I don't know. This is one of the I like to have money on most bowl games, even if I have to put like couch change on something. I have no idea what I'm betting in this one. There's going to be more news to come, and stay tuned to the Action Network app. Duck, you got anything here?
I mean, I do lean Louisville. I'm not against. I don't have a play in pocket, but there could be real problems here with Tucker Gleason not going, and John Allen Richter is out for the season as well. So Khalib Osborne's going to get the call, and we just don't know with Toledo. Is Chip going to play? Is Junior Vander Ross going to play? Both 1,000-yard producers there. What's the offensive line going to look like? What's the secondary going to look like for Toledo? Can you imagine if those four guys in the secondary don't show up and then Toledo all of a sudden can't defend the pass, which was the strength of their defense most of the way this season? Yeah, I just don't know. There's so much with the participation report that needs to get sorted out. This is maybe the Steam Watch game where you get closer to game, you see the steam moving, you see word go on the participation report, who shows up, who doesn't show up. Yeah, I'm even fine if this goes to 9.5 and we see that steam and all the Toledo guys are sitting out. I'll take Louisville at that point here because if they don't have their major players in the secondary and if Chip and Junior are out, could be real trouble. Just hard to know what we're going to get when we've got 15 to 20 key guys that we don't know if they're going to play or not. So nothing in pocket right now, but small lean to Louisville.
I mean, the Toledo defense is legit. Like
You
if they
also have
all
a common
played.
data point too. Toledo was down 15 in the opener against Kentucky before getting a backdoor touchdown in garbage time. We know what Louisville did to Kentucky, so common opponent.
Yes, big special teams advantage for Louisville, worth noting. I will say, yeah, I mean, generally speaking, don't do this every time, but following steam in bowl season has been profitable historically. Usually it's signal and that there's going to be opt-outs, there's leaks, and then the line's going to keep going. And then sometimes when there's opt-outs and a bunch of news, that's a signal that the team really isn't locked in. And then a lot of times the number doesn't even matter. Whereas compared to the regular season where it does, where, if it moves 3 points, if you bought back, you're profitable over time. Not necessarily the case in bowl season. I mean, we've already had what? I mean, I just saw what is that the Navy or Army just hit 10? I just got a notification on one.
Army.
Army just hit 10. Navy's out to 7. Uh, so by the way, lines come out every year. If you learn nothing else from me ever, and I've been saying this for 8 years since we've been doing this, I've been betting for way longer. Service academies are 70% against the spread since 1990 in bowl games. They always show up. There's going to be no opt-outs. Just when lines come out, bet service academies. And they're probably going to cover the close. And then the close is probably going to be like 10 points worse than the Open. Uh, so you're passing here, Calabrese?
Yeah, this has all the flavor of the last NFL preseason game. Like we don't know who's going to play. We don't know how long they're going to play. We don't know who's calling plays in some cases and coaching and everything else. Like, let's just get to the next bowl game.
All right, well, let's do that. Southern Miss and Western Kentucky. This is the disappointment bowl. Both of these teams stumbled down the stretch and had, after having chances to go to their conference championship games, and Southern Miss lost three straight. Western Kentucky lost two straight, although one was a hard-fought game at LSU. This game, let me see. Well, I'll go through news first. Western Kentucky transfer portal doesn't really matter. Helton usually lets all his players play, but they had a cornerback and a running back. Flowers at corner, right, who's not a starter but played over 200 snaps. No real injuries worth noting. Southern Miss, Josh Moten, their corner, he's going to play in the NFL. He actually came out and said like we're brothers, we're playing, so I think he's going to play, but he could opt out. Their left tackle, Blake Bustard, he missed the finale. Charles Huff took the Memphis job, which does increase the chance of opt-outs. I don't know. I mean, last year they had to cancel the bowl because he left and there had no one left. Speaking of Army line movements, I think I had Army -7 in that game. It was got out to 18 and a half, was going to close 21. Sadly, Marshall quit. Uh, Offensive coordinator Blake Anderson, he's going to be the interim coach and he'll take over as the head coach next season. Anderson has not been great in bowl games historically. I think he's 3-6 against the spread.
Mhm.
Well, when I look at this game, these two teams are, let me look at the updated spread here. Western Kentucky 5.5 point favorite, total 57 and a half. Pace is going to be there for sure, but I so this is going to be a fast-paced game. But I don't know. So if you break down these teams, they're kind of similar in that Western Kentucky doesn't give up a lot of pass explosives, but they give up a ton of run explosives. But Southern Miss might be the least rush run explosive team in the country. I mean, who they just handed to who's the running back Pittman who just like plods along for 3 yards. They might not have a 20-yard run on the season. Southern Miss also does their strength is their secondary. They do a good job of limiting pass explosives, but you can get tons of run explosives on them. But Western Kentucky has no rush explosiveness. So and Western Kentucky's offense in general is not explosive, right? They'd want to like dink and dunk and work the ball down the field. It is worth noting Western Kentucky had two quarterbacks this year. They started with MacGyver and then they went to Tisdale. I have them rated the same. I think all of their advanced stats are the same. I can't find any difference between the two, so I don't really think it matters. Duck, I'll go to you first. What are you seeing here, Western Kentucky and Southern Miss?
Yeah, I mean, I would lean over here. Should be a fun matchup. I would imagine two teams that are pretty motivated to be there. I'm not sure that either defense is really going to secure a lot of stops, and we should have a pretty good quarterback battle here between Tisdale and Braylon Braxton. Both
Who
teams are going
might
to
be
run temp.
healthier, by the way, because he was dealing with an injury down the stretch.
Yeah, and really cost that team too. Like he was not playing against Texas State and was still hurt against South Alabama, and they kind of shut that one down. And then now you try to come back in the finale against Troy, and it's just hard for those teams to switch it on and off that late in the season. But anyway, so the pace will be there. Southern Miss 11th nationally in offensive operating tempo. Western Kentucky 33rd. You look at Southern Miss, okay at securing the explosive pass plays, but I don't know that Western Kentucky is going to give that up. And I don't know if Braxton's going to run the ball on the ground. That's how you're going to gash Western Kentucky is by doing it on the ground. Southern Miss not necessarily equipped to do that. Uh, Western Kentucky historically plays in these higher scoring bowl games, and they have done a little bit of kind of pulling the wool over your eyes with the opt outs, not opt outs. Players aren't going to sit out, and then they all decide to show up. They've done that year after year. So hard to know what to get here. And I will say this, we've seen teams in bowl season already this year that have been participating with half a staff, and they play like they're playing without a staff. So you might get some weird stuff in this one, which is kind of keeping me off the total. But strength on strength, I'd lean over.
Western Kentucky special teams advantage, and I didn't mention this is will be played on a fast track at the Superdome. It's the New Orleans Bowl. The New Orleans Bowl in Louisiana. Colin, you got anything here?
Yeah, I mean, just to echo a little bit, I mean, Western Kentucky's 24th in special teams SP plus. Tell me how important special teams has been with the few bowl games that we've seen so far. I've got punt returners dropping punts and long snappers trying to retrieve it and run for touchdowns. I've never seen that before in my life.
What happened to
Uh,
Grammatica, by the way? I knew the Old Dominion is the worst kicking game in the country, but the Grammatica, he was
Killed
awful.
me, just killed me. I have no answers for one of the mini Grammaticas. Western Kentucky here. I mean, their defense is much better. I mean, they have a huge advantage in third downs, defending explosives, and they're 11th in defensive finishing drives. And then you want to go up against an offense. And I know that we said that Braylon Braxton could be healthy here, but now Blake Anderson's completely in charge of this offense, so we know it's going to be the same old what they've done. I mean, Southern Miss completely petered out down the stretch, blew all of our 40 to 1 tickets, and in their final 36 offensive possessions, they had two explosive drives. That's it. That's a drive that is 10 yards per play. Two out of 36. I'm taking Western Kentucky here. Uh, Major special teams advantage, defensive advantage by the goal line. I'm not even questioning it because the Southern Miss, the coaching staff is splintered, the team is splintered, and if the kids are playing, it's because they're trying to increase how much they're worth in the portal. Oh, by the way, Southern Miss 133rd in strength of schedule. Like they're, it's, I can't even believe I had a ticket on them all season. Had to have a straight face.
The one thing I will say, if you're kind of poking holes in Western Kentucky, is uh, although Conference USA is a wagon, like if I were to poke holes in them, because Southern Miss didn't play anyone either. But if you look at Western Kentucky's wins, right, they had a miracle over La Tech. They
Yeah.
should have lost. They needed like a 4th and 10, and they won in overtime by one on a 2-point conversion. They should have lost to Delaware. They had all kinds of fluky plays in that game. They should have lost to Missouri State. Clark got hurt and didn't play in the second half. They were outgained and still only won by 5. They also were outgained by Nevada at home, I believe, but well, they won by 15. So their only legit wins on the season were Sam Houston, North Alabama, Nevada, New Mexico State, and Middle Tennessee. Like that is an ugly batch. Now they did play at LSU really well. I do like certain aspects of their defense, although they don't get much pressure. But it's a feisty group. Calabrese, you like the over here?
Yeah, I'm gonna go over. I feel like the whole trend of both seasons is like, why don't we just bet, under across the board? But I like over here because of the pace. I also think Southern Miss's defense just fell off a cliff. 41 to Texas State, 42 to South Alabama, 428 total yards allowed to Troy, an offense I didn't really respect, and that's with Josh Moten. I think he should opt out. Just go start, getting ready for the NFL draft. There's nothing left to prepare for in terms of your college experience. This bowl game doesn't have a whole lot of trappings or prestige. And I'll push back a tiny bit on the quarterback switch. I think Tisdale at least he has a mystery box ceiling. McIver's been playing since like 2017. We know who he was. Tisdale being a freshman, he strung together 3 straight starts where he had over 300 total yards. So I think he can give a little something extra in the run game. And then Blake Anderson, taking over this program, now he has full creative control. I think this is a showcase opportunity for kids, that are coming to the portal to say, this is what my offense is going to look like in 2026. Don't you want to be a part of it? Because if you look at it, as Colin just pointed out, not a whole lot of recent tape that would excite somebody to say, I'm going to leave some money on the table and go to Hattiesburg to play for this offense. So I think there's a chance for him to be in his bag against a Western Kentucky defense that they do a lot of things well, but they don't tackle very well. One of the worst in Conference USA, 118th in the country in that regard per PFF. So I look at it, as these two teams potentially could take advantage of some defenses that fattened up on not the best schedules. You just mentioned it, Stuck. Like the best passing offense that Western faced really in the last 2 months was Delaware, and Minicucci threw for 314 yards. So I think the pace is going to give us the opportunities. We'll see if these offenses can get it going in the right direction. But I think these defenses may be just a little bit overrated in their metrics because of the opponents they faced.
By the way, quick teaser for next episode. Speaking of overs, as long as UTSA offense is healthy, I think UTSA FIU flies over. FIU's whole secondary is going to be out. It sounds like UTSA's entire defense is going to be out. But we'll speak on that game next. Let's move on to the Frisco Bowl, Tuesday, December 23rd, 9 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Big news here between Ohio and UNLV is Ohio has fired their coach, Brian Smith, for hoarding alcohol and drinking on the job, it sounds like. They said it was activities that reflect unfavorably on the university. Defensive coordinator John Hauser will take over as interim head coach. We've seen UNLV take some money out to a 6.5 point favorite. Over has ticked up to 64 and a half. Not a lot of opt out or injury news as of right now. Michael Molnar, Ohio's linebacker, he's been out since week 9, but not much now. We'll probably have some more news coming up. But who likes anything here? I got nothing as of now. Maybe I'll fade Ohio one last time for the
I,
road.
I think the first half,
Colin, you
yeah.
like the first half over?
Yeah, first half over here. I didn't think UNLV was going to be able to get stopped anyways, but now that Brian Smith is gone, you're going to see. And think about it. He's been on staff since 2022, right? He was calling plays for Tim Alvin, and so who is going to call these plays? Well, I believe in their scripted portion that they're going to be able to get points on the board with Parker Navarro and Sia Bangera, which they both should be able to attack this UNLV that just attack this UNLV defense that cannot defend the run whatsoever. Like they're terrible stuff rate, line yards, EPA, it's all bad. And UNLV has those same advantages on offense. Calandria should cook here in standard downs. UNLV is top 20 in explosives in standard downs, exact opposite of what Ohio's defense does. So I think UNLV gets chunk yardage quick, fast, scoring fast. And I think Ohio can at least answer. I think Ohio tails off in the second half just from the fact of will they be able to change the game plan a little bit? Will they be able to make adjustments on the fly without Brian Smith there, especially since he's the only one I think that's called plays for the last 3 years. So I do like the first half over. And then after that, at some point, I'll be looking to dive in and grab UNLV live.
Maybe UNLV's dumb enough not to double Chase Hendricks because when teams do that, the Ohio passing offense craters. Duck, you said there was an update on the coaching situation within the last half hour?
Yeah, so it sounds like reports from people that are close to the program have confirmed that he was terminated because of an inappropriate relationship with a female staffer,
Not because of
Uh,
drinking on the job.
not because of drinking after his shift was over. It was
which is
after
fine.
games, after
A little,
practices.
little after shift drink. Yeah, I did
Colin,
find that was
Colin,
weird.
where is your side piece red alarm to start fighting? You
Side
need
piece,
to
yeah,
add
yeah,
that.
we need to hear that again.
Side
Can
What's
you
the
piece.
most
have side
Jesus
consistent?
pieces? Can
Christ.
you have Maction side pieces? I didn't even know that exists. There's no one in the stands. Who are you to stat? Goodness.
Athens,
It's
Ohio.
going around in the Rust Belt, man.
Athens, good party town, I've heard. A good college party town. Um,
Stop sleeping with state paid employees that are under your supervision. Stop sleeping with them. There's so much other pussy out there. Quit sleeping with people that are paid by the state. Stop. I beg you, in the name of Petrino, stop.
Collin Wilson, head of the Pussy Patrol. All right, Calabrese, you like UNLV?
Gotta give me a second here. Yeah, UNLV, I'll lay the points, 6.5. Let me not bury the lead here. Disarray for Ohio and this coaching staff. On the other
Disarray.
side,
Sounds like
Mullins
they
got,
were undressed.
yeah, Mullins 7-3 in bowl games. He's somebody who cares about it, gets, his guys focused, rowing in the same direction. I mean, it's one of the reasons I like Bronco earlier in the show with Utah State. He also has 7 bowl wins. Ohio, by the way, to do a postmortem on their whole season, started with so much promise, near upset of Rutgers, upset West Virginia, and then the bottom fell out. I mean, Parker Navarro completely fell apart as a passer. Was it injury? Was it play calling? Was it a loss of confidence? Because you look at the last month of the season, his completion percentage dipped to 45%, 3 TDs, 3 picks. I mean, if it wasn't for all the work that he does on the ground, the offense would have completely cratered. So, can UNLV keep him in the pocket and prevent that? The numbers would say no in terms of what they've done, run defense wise this season. But everything else, they got more respectable as the season went on. They finished 63rd in havoc, 21st in pass rush, 65th in coverage. So, if this game flow, if they can jump out and make it a game script where Ohio has to pass the football, I think they can run away from these guys. So really, all I'm asking for from the Rebs defense here is like 3 punts, fall on a fumble, get a tipped interception, hold them to a field goal attempt in the red zone. I'm not asking for the world here. I think the offense will do the rest. I'll lay the 6.5. I think they're going to win by double digits.
Ohio's special teams are also a disaster. They cannot kick field goals. They're incapable of kicking field goals, which could lead to a couple failed drives. By the way, was fitting news here. My file never sleeps. Talking about Washington State leading rusher just hit the portal and will not play in the bowl for He's. Uh, let's move on to the final game. One of my favorites, the Hawaii Bowl, Christmas Eve between Hawaii and Cal. Nick Rolovich will lead Cal and will return to Hawaii. It looks like Cal's going to be like close to full strength. I don't know. They have a couple injuries. Massis, their corner, is a stud. Will get drafted. He might opt out, but I haven't heard anything. Uh, Hawaii, Jackson Harris, that's a big loss at wide receiver. He had 49 catches for 963 yards and 12 touchdowns. He hit the portal. Couple injuries for Hawaii, wide receiver, corner, and linebacker. Stay tuned for updates on the Action Network sheet next week, early next week, when I'll have more of a lens into what's going on there. This will be a home game for Hawaii, and this is basically a coin flip game on the spread. We are, you guys are all going to make cases for the Bows. Who
Mhm.
wants to start?
Well, first off, you have to state what it is your Christmas Eve drink is going to be. I am into a 1989 vintage Glenmorangie Scotch, single cube, big fat cube. Get the Hawaii Bowl going because I needed it last year when San Jose State went to what, 5 overtimes? This game is always a drinking event. Like even back to Zach Wilson propelling himself like a helicopter and somehow not crossing the goal line. That cost me money too. Listen, I'm going Hawaii here. The question is which quarterback is going to have more success here? JK
Wait, can
is.
we all name our drinks?
Oh,
Christmas
okay.
Eve is uh, I will either do White Russians or eggnog, spiked eggnog. Just something that feels right for Christmas Eve, watching the Hawaii Bowl. Uh, I'll have a robe on, kind of like the dude, and then I'll have some White Russians or uh, some spiked eggnog. So yeah, duck, drink of choice for the Hawaii Bowl on Christmas Eve.
I wish we would have seen that picture when we were at Joe's on Weed. That would have been fun to watch.
Maybe I'll tweet
I
it out.
like Jameson ginger ale, and then I like eggnog too. You get the spiced rum in there with the eggnog, a little cinnamon stick, stir the drink there on Christmas Eve, opening up Christmas gifts, and got the Hawaii Bowl on every TV in the house. He just absolutely cannot beat it.
I will say, way better than eggnog is I became really friendly with this mechanic who I used to take my car to, uh, and like we became like really friendly. The Puerto Rican guy would make homemade coquito, uh, and would give me bottles around the holidays. That stuff is dangerous. My wife made some. I might have to get her to make some more. That is some dangerous stuff. Um, it's a Puerto Rican like coconut and rum drink. It's unbelievable. Very dangerous. A Calabrese Hawaii Bowl drink of choice.
Frozen whiskey sour, a couple of those. I'm doing the seven fish dinner. My
Oh yeah, I will have some fish.
my Italian ancestors would be rolling over in their grave because I'm subbing out some like, the traditional like the smelts. I bring in like, a little bit of ahi tuna, tartar, like, all kinds of like different stuff that barely should qualify as traditional Italian seven fish dinners. But we're hitting it a lot of shellfish as well. But the whiskey sours will power me through the Hawaii Bowl.
Yeah. Uh, yeah, an event at Stagger Inn. We got to have one. We can have a BBOC event. By the way, if you guys aren't doing anything for the Super Bowl, that's one of the most fun nights to come here. No one goes out for the Super Bowl here, but we have our Mac has her company Christmas party. Everyone's away and that, but they ended up doing their Christmas party. It's usually a really fun night. It's closed to the public, and that's always it for the Super Bowl. Anyway, you're welcome to come for that. But Colin, back to the Bows.
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to ask yourself which quarterback's going to have more success. And I think there's a bunch of things that are pointing towards Hawaii here because JKS is going to face a Hawaii defense that's inside the top 40 in creating a contested catch and in PFF coverage grading. So a little bit tougher of a path for him where Mika Alejandro really all Cal the defense has is a top 25 in efficiency from a success rate standpoint. I don't know if Hawaii's gonna be able to get it down, but it's not really their offense. They're more of creating chunk plays, and the differences comes in the coverages that they're going to face. JKS is going to see a ton of quarters coverage, which he was about 49% success rate against, and Alejado is going to see cover three, which he just blasted this year, 55% success rate. There is, I hate to harp on this, but it's been important in the bowl game so far. There is a massive difference in special teams here, all in favor of
Hawaii
Hawaii's.
is the best kicker in the country,
Yeah,
besides Tate Sandell at Oklahoma.
give me the
I don't think
bows.
he's missed this year, by the way. Uh, my only concern for Hawaii is you want to run on Cal, and Hawaii doesn't really run the ball. Like Cal's run defense is pitiful. Duck, you like Hawaii, and Chang, who's been very good as a home dog on the island. This total's come down a bit for what it's worth as well. But Duck, you like the Bows as well?
I do. And Hawaii doesn't have a real explosive rush attack, but they've at least committed to attempting to run the ball a little bit more this season as opposed to prior seasons where they abandoned the run entirely.
It's fair.
You talk about a spot. First bowl game during the Timmy Chang tenure. This fan base has been starved for winning football. There was a lot of flack for Timmy Chang not getting over the hump. The run and shoot wasn't running and shooting. And this team hasn't played this bowl game since 2019. They were in one and then it was canceled. And these guys on Christmas Eve in front of their home fans to show up and play football one last time for their seniors. This is all this team can talk about, the brotherhood, everything else. This play doesn't come without risk, right? Jackson Harris is a significant loss at receiver. Nick
Huge.
Senecal is hurt, and he's another key piece in the pass game here. But I expect the atmosphere to be electric. I expect Hawaii to show up fully engaged. Their defense, and you talked about the defensive prowess, much, much better at home this season. Real strong defensive team at home. There's another fun element to this, which is Nick Rolovich comes back to Hawaii. He replaced Timmy Chang at quarterback way back when, and then took over head coach at Hawaii. Had some fun teams, but he comes back here schematically is probably an even game, but I think special teams will be a big difference here. You talk about punt coverage, you talk about the Tokyo toe and nailing field goals. He can drill field goals from really comfortably anywhere inside of about 54. So really good special teams advantage. I expect Micah Alejado to play really, really well in this game. I like Hawaii at home Christmas Eve. Get the scotch, get the gin, get whatever you want. Sip this one while you're opening up Christmas gifts. This is going to be a fun game.
And you know the Nakoa Booster Club is going to Rolovich's hotel the night before and saying, okay, in the fourth quarter, we need this to happen. Here you go.
There also it is worth noting Honolulu could be some wins. You want to check that closer to the game, but it actually looks like as of right now, there's like 20-mile-an-hour winds. Maybe that's why the totals come down a bit. Um, but still too early to tell there. You also are on the bows, Calabrese.
I am. Duck, I thought you were going to finish with the haka there. It was like a pregame speech getting me fired up for Rainbow Warrior football. I mean, I'll say this. The loss of Jackson Senecal, that doesn't make me feel great, but they do bring back three receivers, or bring into this game, I should say, three receivers who had at least 30 receptions this year in Ashlock, White, Papunu. So with 100% healthy Alejado, this is a guy who, had 4 games with 300 plus through the air. In Mountain West play, he led the conference with 66% completions, 19 passing touchdowns, another one on the ground. He was everything he was cracked up to be when he was healthy. And we know he's going to be healthy in this game. And if this was any Power 4 team rolling in that could run the football, I'd have my concerns. We actually thought in the preseason that Hawaii in the trench and in the front seven could be a little bit stout. They were not. But Cal's offensive line can't move a blocking sled. They're 128th in line yards. They gave up running it altogether, 129th in run rate. JKS is super promising, flashes that program savior kind of energy. I hope that they can keep him in the Bay Area. I know that it sounds like they're working on it, but I mean, crazy things happen, and there's certainly a lot of quarterback starved programs with deep pockets around the country. If they can keep him, that's great. He is going to be thrown into Hawaii's secondary that was 36th in coverage and 29th in pass rush. So I think that's a pretty good combo. I'll finish
Got
it
to get
off.
sacks. JKS will take sacks and you kill drives.
Exactly. And I'll finish it off with this. Chang on the island, 10-4 in his last 14, 12-2 against the spread. Give me the Rainbow Warriors. I think they win this one outright.
All right, before we get out of here, our DraftKings bowl betting preview pod parlay, our part one, we have ODU and Jacksonville State already in the window. I think it was 15-1. We also have Oklahoma left and Missouri State. By the time you listen to this, you'll probably know the result. +1.5, which I believe will cash because Arkansas State's going to win by 1, like they do every game. So for this week, for this part, I should say, we're going Collins contribution, Hawaii money line,
Mhm.
Duck going. He did have Hawaii money line, but was generous enough to give it to Collins. So we put an FCS entry, and we're going with Villanova, Illinois State under 52.5. Talked about that at the top of the show. Calabrese going with Ole Miss, laying the points, and I'm going to go with Texas A&M money line at home. Mario will mess it up. +1050 on DraftKings. We'll drop a link in the podcast and YouTube description. If you want to follow along, we'll also tweet it out. Go use that link to instantly add the bet to your bet slip at DraftKings, and let's get it home. The crown is yours. Also, we'll be back with our live show on Saturday and again on Sunday for part three of our bowl season previews. Make sure you subscribe, unsubscribe, subscribe, tell a friend, tell an enemy. Leave a 5-star review if you can, really helps us out. And again, if you want to tell any of the bets that we discussed today, look for the quick slip link in the video and podcast description or visit actionnetwork.com/bet now. Thanks to Colin, Mike, and Duck for joining me. Thanks to our producer David on the back end. Most importantly, thanks to all of you for tuning in. Continue to enjoy bowl season. Let's close out the season strong. Thanks again for tuning in. Happy holidays. Catch y'all later. Cheers.
Peace out.